Welcome to Outbound Labs by Predictable Revenue, where we share the results of our prospecting experiments, what we learned along the way, and what it means for your team. Hey everybody, welcome back to Outbound Labs. I'm Colin, and as always,
Lavinia.
Welcome back. Today we are breaking down the personalization at scale video that our SDR Sarah had published on the podcast. Really what we're working on today was, if you look at the last video, and if you haven't checked that one out, I highly recommend it. This one is building on that one, and you're going to be totally missing out if you haven't watched that video.
Yeah,
I'm really trying to boost our viewership numbers here. But really, so last video we talked about where's the best place to find posts, and we didn't really get a really great answer. We tried four different spots, and over the course of 11 different campaigns for 11 different customers, and the results were very disappointing. And so today what we're looking at is how do we, because we know that we want to invest our time in personalization, we want to invest our time in having better conversations, but we want to know where to invest our time, right? We need to know where to look. If you're just if you're pulling up any old conversation that's low engagement, it's not relevant, it's not going to be a very effective method. And I think we've seen that if you've watched the first video, right? I think one of the big differences between those two, the first one that was successful and the second one that wasn't as successful, I suspect the biggest piece was like, how relevant was that conversation to the target buyers? And so today what we're looking at is, well, how do we reverse engineer that? Right. So let's look back at where we found those posts, and maybe let's go back to almost the Beck Holland approach and what she started with in the first place, which is starting with our target account list, putting them in LinkedIn, and then seeing what relevant posts pop up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So talk to me about the method.
Sure. So exactly what you're saying. So rather than going from trying to find a post and break that down into relevant prospects, we actually built a list of companies that we knew would have relevant prospects. Took them, stuck them into Sales Nav, found those individuals that we wanted to reach out to directly. And then we tracked when they engaged with posts through the Sales Nav platform. We did this for a couple of clients, and we definitely found it was quite time consuming going from the list and clicking through and checking each of their campaigns. But what we really wanted to find out was, what if we can remove that whole element of having to try and find the post, having to try and find it's relevant, and then breaking down the prospects and all those different stages where there's so much attrition along the way that you're really limiting what you can do with the prospects at the end. So instead, we found that list of individuals, and then we had a look at what they'd been engaging with on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And so this was, in this case, now there was two different ones, right? Just so I'm super clear. There's one where we started on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And we said, okay, let's build our target account list. And then the next one was, let's look at posts
So we took the main experiment that had a list of target companies that we'd already pre-decided. So they were already an ABM list. We already knew we wanted to target them.
Okay.
And then we stuck them into a Sales Nav search, put in some parameters around the persona, and then we went to look at their engagement. For this particular method, there wasn't actually a control. And the reason behind that was that, as we said before, it was really difficult to find posts using the previous method. And for this experiment, the control would have been finding a post using that method. So you guessed it, there wasn't a control. So instead, we kind of gauged whether there was any connection positives against what we could presume would be a big fat zero, basically.
Perfect. Okay. And so can you give me an idea of the scope? How many of these campaigns, how many customers? What did that look like?
Sure. So because it was such a highly time-consuming method, lots of clicks, lots of manual monitoring, and lots of keeping up to date with it, kind of almost on an hourly basis. We only launched it with one client to start with. So this comes back to our failing fast and learning quickly. We don't want to roll this out for 15 different clients or 15 different experiments and find it doesn't work when we could have spent a 15th of the time looking at it for one person. So that's how we started. And with this particular experiment, we had 66 target companies, plugged them into Sales Nav. and then went to look at who the relevant personas at those companies were.
Gotcha.
So trawling through, looking at their activity, see what they liked, what they commented on, had they even posted something themselves, written a blog, shared an area. And from those 66 target companies, we found 4 relevant prospects had any activity that could be used.
Gotcha.
And
impressive numbers here.
And none of them connected. So it's another one of those fail fast. And I think it's also really important to know, even though this didn't have any legs and didn't take grip, it's not a failure in the sense that the experiment should be abandoned and it wasn't worth doing. It gives us a lot more insight into this method and how this method can be used. And it also validates our ideas from previous videos that this is a great method, but in pretty niche areas. And the most important thing to understand is the area you're targeting one of those niche areas?
Yeah. Are your customers active? Are your prospects really active on LinkedIn?
Yeah, exactly.
I think one of the best features of SalesNav is the ability to build your target account list, filter it down by the target profile or target job titles that you want.
Yeah.
And then click on that tab that says, show me only those profiles that have activity in the last 30 days. And I think what we encountered here was that activity was pretty limited.
Yeah, definitely. And as you can imagine on LinkedIn, people are also engaging with stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to their job titles. So even if they had some of engagement, you don't want to be shoehorning completely random posts that they've liked or commented on into it.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting one because I think you see so much of the people that sell LinkedIn training or LinkedIn campaigns, et cetera, saying, oh, you've got to be using LinkedIn. And if you're not using LinkedIn, blah, 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 you're leaving money on the table. But if your audience isn't on LinkedIn, right, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
If your audience is on Instagram, right? And like anecdotally, and this wasn't part of the test, but one of the things that we've seen in the last couple of weeks was, we had a customer that was going after major brands. I won't share any more details there, but they were getting not amazing results, not great results, not bad results, but kind of middle of the road results using email, LinkedIn, et cetera. Actually, I don't think LinkedIn was working for them at all. And somebody had the idea to test out Instagram, and they actually saw a huge increase in the number of meetings that they were booking. Unfortunately, there's no Instagram to Salesforce connection. So I'm super disappointed, but so it was kind of tough to get those metrics updated and live into Salesforce and then built into cadences. But the response was really impressive. And so again, I think it's just another proof point. It wasn't a thoroughly conducted experiment. It was just anecdotal evidence. Go where your customers are active.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. And the results, what we really took away from this were, in this case, not a reflection on the method, but a reflection on who we're targeting and how we're targeting them. So exactly. Again, as we keep saying, it's all down to relevance.
Perfect. And again, we'd like to hear from everybody.
Yeah. We
wanted to make sure that we were sharing, that we weren't just cherry picking the best content, that we were of like, here's the things that worked super well. We wanted to, with this round, we wanted to share, here's what we tried and here's what didn't work. Because I think there's value in, in the failure, in the learning, because it's not just about finding something that's going to be a home run. It's about, okay, what are all of those at-bats that went in to developing the skill to hit those home runs?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And I think if we've got, 12 really smart people that are, putting time and energy and effort into this, we want to share as much of their knowledge, their experience, and their data as we possibly can.
Yeah, completely.
Perfect. Any final comments?
I think main one is stay tuned for the final video in this method. We look a bit more at using a multi-touch cadence versus LinkedIn-only outreach. So again, it's validating this method when we know we've got an audience it works with. So how can we make it most effective? So that's what we come back to in the final video of the series.
Fantastic. Well, as always, find that little rectangle. It says subscribe. I don't know if you know how to use that button, but you actually click on it. And then there's another icon with a little bell. Those are the things that make noise. They used to use them, before telephones were a thing, to alert people of incoming marauders, I think. And if you click on that, you'll get notified. Will be super annoying, and YouTube will send you a notification of some sort when we post our next video. So we got one more left. If you want to be notified when that comes out, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.